Okay, so let's talk tanks. I have spent about 12 hours on the PTR in the last 2 days. I have been playing a lot, and I have learned a lot about tanks as well as many other specs, but let's talk tanks. I made a tier list a few days ago with my predictions. So far, they have relatively held up, because after trying every tank except VDH, which I will not play on PTR because it will get nerfed, and I refuse to play it because it's definitely going to get nerfed, and we will not have another VDH season. But anyways, let's move past that. Warrior still looks to be the best. I just double timed. I was just on my Druid. I'm recording this right after stream, and I just double timed a 14 Eco Dome on the Druid. The problem with Druid is that your single target damage is just still low. I was looking at it, and I was like, man, I was trying to proc my tier. I was gaming this as hard as I could. The truth is that my single target damage is low. My overall is fine. Like the overall damage, your AoE damage is fine. When you look at AoE pulls, the Druid AoE is fine, but its single target damage is just the lowest out of any tank I have played, which is sad because I know this tank really well. It's not like I'm missing globals or I'm, not doing my rotation right. One thing I do want to point out when you're comparing my list to other people's lists and my damage numbers, very important to realize I am only on every single one of my tanks. I am only testing with trinkets that I can find in M+. I will not play a Mythic Raid trinket because I think this completely skews the list. I think if you play a Mythic Raid trinket, like you're not going to have that early on in the season. You're not going to have access to a Mythic Raid trinket. So I'm only testing what I will have access to in keys, which means that every single tank is playing a key trinket that is available in the next season. Cool? So that's one thing to caveat here. My Druid damage is low. So if we take a look at the tier list that I made, it looks something like this, right? Let's assume they're going to nerf VDH. If they don't nerf VDH, obviously, guys, it's like super Giga S tier, okay? Like VDH is like probably the best tank. It's not probably the best tank. It is the best tank. I've played with a few because I also healed a few keys. Look, it's really good, but they're going to nerf it. So let's say they nerf it baseline, it goes down to A or like here or something like this, okay? Now here's what I found. Bear, just the fact that its damage is not quite there, like it's lower than it currently is, and the divide is quite strong. The other problem is that the other Druid specs are all looking very strong, which makes Bear's utility and group buff a lot less desirable. So I do think that unfortunately Bear moves down to A, not B+. Not DK is still in its own tier down here. It's still fine, but maybe DK is there, but let's keep it there for now. Okay, listen. So Bear's damage probably brings it down to A. Its niche is still at its giga omega tanky. It's so tanky. The new dungeon is actually, it has a few tank busters. There's a lot of magic damage that happens in that key. It's fine. Bear was I was just hard chilling. Never worried at all. Second boss has quite a large tank buster. No problem. Bear was fine. So Bear still feels giga tanky. There is a build I can play with some more damage. I'll do some more testing. I realistically think that if I gamed it a little bit harder, I could get like 3.3, 3.4 mil overall, but that is about the cap of Bear right now. I think that if I really tried, I could get slightly more single target, but again, it's not by much, because when I compare this to some of the other tanks that I've played like Warrior is just significantly ahead. And guess what? Warrior also provides a group buff to your team. And something to, if you're considering what tank should I play and what's meta, you got to understand that at a certain level, the more that we scale, the more damage our DPS does. If you take a look at this overall, clearly Windwalker Monk is a little bit bugged right now. So this is not entirely accurate. There's something going on here. This is one of the specs that's bugged. Hunter is also bugged, so when you see them doing this much damage, this will not stay. But the point is, your DPS are going to be doing significantly more damage than you will as a tank. So what that means is that when you provide a buff to them, 3% verse to the DPS that's doing X amount is going to be more than your personal damage. And that's when you have to take into account the fact that my highest DPS tank was my Prot Pally, which is going to get nerfed. Prot Pally did 4.2 million DPS overall in one of the dungeons I did earlier. Now, that's a lot. There are two problems with it. Number one, Pally is going to get nerfed. Trust me. If the tier set, the fact that it's a degenerate gameplay, Blizzard does not like degenerate gameplay usually. And the problem is that it's also the squishiest tank. Out of all the tanks I tested, I got to say, Prot Pally felt the squishiest to me. I actually noticed my mortality. I was like, okay, hold up. I'm dying. Like, I need a little bit of external healing. I was like, oh, healer, please help. I was trying a big pull, and I was like, okay. And I thought I was playing Prot Pally pretty well. I was playing the Lightsmith build, Moment of Glory. I was playing everything right. I wasn't misplaying. It's just that Prot Pally felt squishy even in that environment. Now, granted, it's 15, 20 million DPS AoE, but there's another problem with it, which is that it's lower single target. So its single target was the second lowest out of any tank that I played. Also a red flag. Again, no group buff. That actually brings it below Bear if Bear is providing Mark of the Wild. So Pally definitely moves down to low A. I think that Pally becomes low A. Now, its utility is still, you still have all the Pally stuff. Can you play it? Of course. Still a good tank. But when you start getting into higher keys, I do think that Pally, it scales very well against high keys because you can just really plan pulls with a coordinated group and, rotate your DRs, which are incredible. But I mean, man, there were some pulls where I would hit kings and I would still almost die through that. Like, the new dungeon was hitting hard. It's fair. It's decent. Like, it's good for tanks. But I think Prop Pally has some fundamental... It's going to get nerfed. The damage will get nerfed, and without its damage niche, without it being the highest DPS tank, it just falls behind a little bit. 3% Devil Aura is impactful, and I have seen a few Rets on PTR, and I've seen a few Holy Pallies. They're actually both good, but not crazy good compared to the other Druid specs. Maybe you want a Pally for utility. Can you play it? Of course. It's still an A tier. It's not a bad tank or anything like that. Like, no tank felt terrible. But here we move on, and the fact is, Brewmaster feels amazing. I played my brew, dusted him off. He felt great. Also, very good single target damage. Also, very good overall damage. Also, very, very, very tanky. Surprisingly, because normally brew has that kind of niche of like, it's a little squishy. Nah, brew felt really good. I mean, really, I'd feel confident bringing this. I'd feel confident bringing pretty much any of these tanks to a 15. But if I was going to do a 15 tomorrow, I can tell you, I would not want to play Prop Pally and I would not want to play Blood DK. I'd play any other tank. It's fine. So between Warrior, Brew, Druid, not Demon Hunter, because it's going to get nerfed, I would play any tank. You ask me, you want to take a 16 Ecodome? I'd play any one of those. They'd all be fine. They all have differences. Obviously, they're different playstyles, etc., etc. But right now, when we're thinking about after testing the PTR for a few days, here's my thoughts. This is degenerate gameplay. It's going to get nerfed. But these two are fair. The truth is that the Prot Warrior, the Colossus, felt actually the best out of any tank. To the degree where I was actually gathering pulls in battle stance because I was like, I'm kind of bored. Like, I was just like, all right. You know how much battle stance is, by the way, to stance hop on a Warrior? It's like 0.5 to 1% DPS gain. And also, you don't gather in it. But I was just like, I wonder if I could make this a little bit more challenging for myself. So I started spinning in a circle. Like, I was actually so immortal on a Warrior, I got bored. So Warrior felt really good. Defensively felt amazing. We'll see when other dungeons become available. Maybe something like Dawnbreaker starts challenging me a bit more on the Warrior. But, I mean, just felt super sturdy. Damage, very consistent. Pull to pull. It's not like you were dependent on an incarn pull or like a big pull. Like, damage, fine. No matter the target count, you felt pretty good on Warrior. In fact, anything Warrior might specialize in like mid-target count pulls, and a lot of these dungeons are not crazy AoE, so Warrior damage profile, very good. Single target, very good. And the group buff, again, you got to start to understand that the group buffs really are going to matter in Season 3. DPS do bigger numbers. 3%, 5% attack power for your DPS is more than your flat value. Like I said, Prop Pally, 4.2 mil overall. Warrior, about 3.5. But that means that if I'm playing with a Fizz comp, borderline attack power is worth 700k, if not more. Like, it's hard to quantify exactly, but borderline attack power is worth 700k. So it basically, my Warrior is doing more damage than my Pally. It just doesn't look like it on details. But if you're playing with a team, you're playing an M+, you're playing a tank, that's something to take into account. Also, Warrior damage, I don't even think I was truly min-maxing it. I could have played even better. I think the ceiling is a bit higher. And my Prop Pally, I was basically min-maxing to the ultimate degree. So realistically, like, I think the same route, same dungeon, but played perfectly. Warrior does even more. My Warrior also wasn't playing with as much crit because I didn't fully min-max my gear, but we'll work on that later. Okay, so basically, though, the tier set looks like this. I think this is fair gameplay, and I don't know if they nerf it. Like, Warrior is Warrior. I don't think they're going to nerf it because there's nothing to nerf here. It's not like one ability is doing 50% of your damage. That's degenerate gameplay. When you take a look at this log from that 14 Ecodome, this is degenerate. This is a bug. No ability. Your log should not look like this, right? This is 40% from your hero talent. This is way too much. This is what Prop Pally looks like right now. This means they're going to nerf it. Like, they look at stuff like this, and they don't like this type of gameplay. If Chain Lightning is this far ahead, that's rotational, maybe they accept it. But this, that's too much. So Warrior doesn't have any of that, and neither does Brew. Brew and Warrior are both seemingly fair gameplay where if you play it really well, you get rewarded by doing good dam and also being very tanky. And if you play it very badly, you will do bad damage and not and die, and you won't be very good as a tank. So you kind of have this dilemma where both of those feel fair, and I don't think they're going to nerf it. And that's kind of my mentality, because we're early on in PTR. Do we know what the meta is for next season? Of course not. No, of course not. These are all speculations and conversations to have about the state of each tank, what they're doing well, and what they could buff. Because if they buff Bear single target, then I would say Bear is something like this right now. Bear is just super tanky. It's really good. But if they don't buff it and it's just significantly behind, does tank damage really matter that much? Not necessarily, but it also doesn't have an AoE kick. It also, it's got some niches. It's got some stuff that other tanks don't have, but really Bear is just the ideal tanky tank. But if it's just really behind on damage, I don't feel like it deserves to be in this tier. I really feel like these tanks are superior. These tanks are both very good. And what's interesting is that these are both Fizz comp tanks. Maybe, just maybe, hear me out, we see a Fizz comp meta. Hard to say because a lot of the physical specs right now in the game are bugged, like all Hunter specs. Marksman and BM are both doing way too much damage. This Windwalker Monk I was just playing with does too much damage. So really hard to say, but based on PTR testing, a lot of the Fizz comps do look pretty good. And that means that you would want a Warrior because DPS Warrior notoriously is not meta in keys. So if you have a comp that's basically a hunter or a monk or a outlaw rogue and slash or there are not that many Fizz specs in the game, a feral druid, all of a sudden you are going to want that warrior buff. That warrior buff comes from your tank. It's probably not coming from your arms or your fury warrior. Let's be real, folks. Come on now. What is this? DPS warrior meta? No, it's not going to happen. So basically, I think warrior stonks are up. We'll have to see in the rest of the dungeons. But I've been playing PTR a bunch. I think Blood DK still kind of deserves to be here. It's fine. It's not the worst tank. It is kind of the worst tank, right? I mean, it could use a little bit of love. It's okay. But all these other tanks have some sort of niche or utility, like some sort of thing that they give to the group. This one doesn't. Not really. So it kind of deserves to be here. And it's not like it does the most damage or like it's it's crazy, crazy, crazy good. So I think this one goes here. This is about where I'm at after a bunch of days of PTR testing. I will continue to update and basically test a bunch of things on stream. One of the things I want to look at is not just what the meta tank might be, but also what the meta healer might be and what the meta DPS might be. Like I'm kind of keeping an eye on different damage profiles of the DPS I'm playing with. For example, in that last key, we had a Boomy who looks like he's doing low damage, but his prio damage on his tier set, if that might get nerfed too, because he could just nuke a mob from 100% to 50%, which is a very valuable type of damage profile in some keys. So that might be valuable. Like I'm trying to pay attention to this. Shadow Priest is doing ridiculous single target. That probably gets nerfed again. There's all these things I'm looking at because all of a sudden you think, well, Boomy, Shadow Priest, Mage is looking really good. Guess what? That Warrior buff, not looking as good. That monk buff not looking as good. So it affects the tank decision, and that's what we have to all consider when we move forward thinking about the tank meta. I probably won't update this list until several weeks from now. This is give or take after testing PTR initially, unless a massive class tuning comes out. This is give or take what I think. These are interchangeable. Honestly, in A tier, any of these could be a little bit better, a little bit worse. It's something like this. But yeah, I think these two are the standout tanks, which is great. I think that actually Warrior and Brew both deserve its time. Absolutely fair to me. It could even be swapped, but I think that Warrior is slightly better in my opinion. Like this was, I took some damage. This one is just, it's absolutely immortal and does great damage and has everything. So this is about what I think on tanks. I'll keep updating my Discord with overalls from dungeons as well as my findings because everybody wants to know what's the meta. What are we going to play? What should I invest my hundreds and hundreds of hours in my crippling addiction to World of Warcraft in? Oh, sorry, that got a little real. Anyways, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.